to this a few times. Hint, hint, hint. Um,
Okay.
okay, so yesterday we talked about uh, a basic backup statement. How are your
Yeah.
20s going?
Yeah. Actually, I wrote it down 20 times.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, is it overly boring yet? It's okay if you
No.
say yes because, doing your
No.
20s is, it's
No.
like, oh my,
Actually, yeah. Actually, it's good practice. I thought. I think.
okay, excellent.
Actually, yeah.
I think so, it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
See what I did there? Okay, we're going to get rid of this. Let me go ahead and start sharing. And screen two and share. Okay, so today, so can you see my cursor yet?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So today we're going to do remodels and um, different backups types and
Mm-hmm.
LSNs. Okay,
Okay.
so, and not necessarily in that order. So let's start with the different backup types, right? Full diff and log, easy enough, right? So the
Okay.
difference between them is, I mean, full is just what it sounds like, right? I mean, I hate to be tautological, but full takes a full backup of the entire database, right? Absolutely everything. A diff is kind of like an incremental, although the
Mm-hmm.
OS people tend to have diffs and incrementals, and I forget the difference sometimes, but it's an incremental, right? So all of the changes that have been made since you did your last full backup.
Mm-hmm.
And a log is kind of in between those, right? It's any logged activity. So it's not the the differences necessarily as in this page changed, or this page had data added to it or something like that. It's just any logged activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's it's going to be mostly the same material in a log and a diff backup anyway, but the difference is in how they're handled, right? So
Mm-hmm.
a diff, like I said, is from the last full backup. So let's say that Monday I take a full.
Mm-hmm.
This becomes your your diff base, right? And I'll explain that in a minute.
Okay.
Tuesday, I take a diff. Okay, so that's all changes, and I'm going to do this. Here we go. Since Monday's backup, right?
Okay.
Wednesday, I take a diff, and it also is, here, I'll just do this, all changes since Monday's backup.
Okay.
If I take one Thursday, same thing. Friday, same thing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it always comes back to this differential base. That's why it's called the base, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
a full backup is what uh, is what provides the base for the comparison. So
Okay.
when it comes in and says, "Hey, I want to back up all the differences in the database, all the differences since when," right? So
Yeah.
on any given database, as the week goes through, the diffs are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
right? Because they all
Correct.
go back to Monday. So if I had 3,000 changes here and 3,000 changes here and 3,000 on Thursday and 3,000 on Friday, Fridays is going to be, 4 times bigger than, or 3 times bigger than Tuesdays, right?
Yeah.
But that also means that when I go to restore, all I have to do is restore Monday's base and then the latest diff, because the latest diff contains all these others.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just do this. There we go. Okay. There we go. I'll give myself a little bit more to work with. So to restore, I restore Monday's base, and then
Mm-hmm.
I restore Friday. So I don't have to go back and restore these in order, right? Now
Yeah.
let's talk about the difference between that and log backups, right? So a log and the mechanisms that they use are different, right? We'll get into that some other time. But for logs, not fog, log. Well, fog is for log, right? Um, so for log backups, again, Monday is the log base,
Hmm.
and I'm going to say like a log backup here. And here it
Okay.
is, instead of it's from Monday, it is since the last log backup.
Hmm. Okay.
So I'm just going to do this guy. Actually, I'll do this. There we go. So I take log backups. I take my full on Monday. I take a log on Tuesday, and that's ridiculous because you usually take logs like every couple hours or every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, right? You take logs very often. So I take my full on Monday, and then I take my log on Tuesday, take my log on Wednesday, and this contains all the changes since here. Wednesdays contains all the changes since Tuesday, and so on and so on, right? So when I restore logs, I restore my full, and then I have to
Hmm.
restore each one of the logs in order. It's not like the differentials where I can just restore the last one. I have to restore every single log in order.
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's a lot more to talk about with these guys, right? But this is just like top level stuff, because if I give it to you all at once, you'll just go, what the hell, right? So
Hmm.
we're going to kind of ease you into this. Now, um, recovery models. We're actually if you remind me, we'll get
Hmm.
into uh, like not recovery models, but we'll get into bulk mode and logging and stuff tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remind me to go over like bulk logging and stuff tomorrow, then we'll do that. But today,
Okay.
you're just going to have to memorize, right? That the
Yeah.
full mode, let me do this. There we go. That uh, full recovery, and I'll come up here and say recovery models. So we've got full,
O-
we've got bulk logged, and simple. So full recovery, just what it sounds like, right? You want to recover, you want to be able to recover every single transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means to you is um, basically when you have a full base and you have to take logs. Okay, you can
Mm-hmm.
combine diffs and logs, right? And we'll talk about that soon too.
Mm.
But you have to take logs in full recovery, because what you're saying is, I want every single transaction to be part of the log. So
Mm-hmm.
if I have an insert with 30 million rows, I want 30 million rows in the log, right? So you just
Yeah.
increased your recovery, right? I mean, that's just wow. So
Mm-hmm.
your recovery time has just been greatly increased. Um, but the thing is the log can't be shrunk, and shrunk is a misnomer, but we'll talk about that later. Um,
Okay.
but the log can't be shrunk until it's backed up,
Okay.
right? So because
Yeah.
you're saying, I want to be able to do full recovery. So that means that means you're telling SQL that I want you to keep this stuff, these transactions in the log until I back them up somewhere. But until then, you're responsible for keeping them in the log, because I've told you that I want full recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're in full recovery mode and you're not taking log backups, your log is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as these transactions stack up,
Hmm.
waiting to be backed up, right? And they'll never,
Yeah.
ever, ever, ever be deleted from the log until they're backed up, because you've told SQL, I have to be able to recover everything. So it's doing what you told it. So that is full recovery.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
um, Now, bulk logged is pretty much the same thing, only it allows for minimally logged transactions.
Okay.
You still have to take log backups. The only difference is now you can do bulk inserts, so that that 30 million rows, every single row doesn't get put into the log, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, pretty much everything else is the same. So you can consider these first two, to be uh, basically synonymous
Mm-hmm.
for most intents and purposes. They're synonymous. Um, I'm simplifying, but we'll get into more specifics later. But yeah, for the most part, just know that they act the same as far as backups go, but as far as the inserts go, you're allowed to do bulk logging instead of full logging. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now, simple mode is kind of like nothing mode. Right? I don't really know why they call it simple.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be a database option called truncate log on checkpoint, which I liked a lot better because it's a lot more descriptive, right? But
Mm-hmm.
simple mode, what that means is, as soon as okay, so a transaction comes in, and it gets put into the log first. And then as soon as it hits the table and is what we call hardened, right, which means it's been written to the table itself, that log entry is basically gone. So it doesn't maintain a log. Stuff goes into the log, but it doesn't maintain it.
Okay.
So in practicality, you only have full backups for a simple mode database.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's a really bad idea for most user databases. There are exceptions, right? But for most user databases, having them in simple mode is a bad idea, because that means that you can only recover to your last full backup, because it doesn't maintain logs, right? So
Yeah.
that means your log will never grow out of whack unless you just have a huge single transaction, right? You import 300 million rows and all 300 million rows are logged and your log's going to get absolutely huge, right? But after that transaction's done, they'll all be dumped out of your log.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's not going to maintain those after it checkpoints them into the database. Any questions so far? Any?
Yes.
Okay,
Mm, in simple model, like uh, the data will be imported, but logs will not be maintained.
right,
It's like contain itself, the table contain itself, right?
right.
And
They're still logged first, right? Everything
uh-huh.
goes through the log. It's just not kept.
Okay, okay. It gets logged, but it's not maintained.
Right.
Okay,
And
and
you
for
physically can't take log
mm,
backups in simple mode. You'll get an error.
okay, okay, and for full recovery and bulk log, it is like almost same, but bulk log will get minimal transactions, right? It
Right.
will allow minimal transactions. Okay, so we always prefer bulk log, not full recovery.
It depends, right? If
Okay.
you're in an AG, you can't have
Mm,
bulk mode. You have to be in full.
okay. Okay.
But and also there's another caveat with like point in time recovery that could be important to you, but we'll cover that another time.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So let me ask you a question. Let's
Mm,
let's review, shall we? Um,
mm.
let's say that okay, let's put it this way. How would you recover a database using diff backups?
Mm, sorry, but I did not get your question.
Okay, so you need to recover the database.
Okay.
You need to restore it. How would you
Yeah.
restore it using diff backups? What's the general order of
Uh,
operations?
uh, we can directly restore from the file.
Right. But which files do you restore from?
That is last backup file. .bak file.
The last diff. But first, right, you have to do that
Um,
full, right?
okay. Yeah.
In every one of these scenarios, you have to restore the full first because otherwise you
Yeah.
don't have any way, you don't have anything to compare it to,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's why. And now I'm going to get into a little bit more specifics, and you're not going to fully understand all of this until we really start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's just kind of theory,
Okay.
but there
Yeah.
are going to be theory days and there are going to be practice days, right? And the theory days have
Mm,
to come first.
yeah.
So now let's talk about LSNs. I'm going to put this down here. LSN. Well, N. There we go. And that is log. Evidently, it's not. Log sequence numbers.
Okay.
So a log sequence number is basically it's a marker in the log that
Okay.
says um, that says um, this transaction happened at this point, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you see those TV shows with the crime scene investigators, and they have like the little yellow tents on the ground that have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
they like where they like show the order of events, right? This is
Yeah.
basically the same thing, right? So to simplify, we're going to call our LSNs 1, 2, 3, right? But that's not what an LSN looks like. An LSN is really something like OX, right? I mean, it's just this ridiculously long hex number,
Yes.
right? It's really really long, right? It like goes like all the way out to like here sometimes, right? So,
Mm.
but to simplify it, and it doesn't matter what the number is, right? You're not going to be able to look at it and go, oh, this happened at this time, right? So we're going to use 1, 2, 3 instead. So
Okay.
we have an update statement, and it updates a single row, and it happens at LSN1,
Okay.
right? Because that's the marker in the log that says, hey, this is when this happened. And then we have a delete, and it only deletes one row, right? And so it happens at number 2. And then we have an insert, right? Just to square things off. So we've got 3 LSNs here.
Okay.
So all of these are markers in the log that basically it's like a table, right? If you can look at it like a table. So this is the LSN and this is the operation, right? So I could say, hey, what happened at LSN 3? And you can say, oh, we inserted into the customers table. Got it, right? What happened at
Okay.
LSN 2? Well, we deleted something from the shipping table, and so on, right? So these LSNs there are tons of them, right? I mean, for every operation gets an LSN. And so the full backup, the reason why it's a base is because it all hinges on this LSN. So let's say here, I'm going to pull this back down here. Actually, I'm going to go with the diffs for now. So let's pull this down here, and I'm going to say, okay, so the full here is LSN 1. LSN 1. So that
Okay.
is the beginning of this LSN chain, right? For um for this full backup, right? Now, when I take a diff backup, it records which LSN I need to start at,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So it says, hey, I need to start at LSN 1. So the backup file itself, and you can see that in the header, right? You can see beginning and ending LSNs.
Yeah.
So in here it says, hey, I'm LSN 1 and I need LSN 1. So therefore, this is the one I have to restore before I get to this one. And every single one of these is going to start at the same LSN. Because this differential LSN, and you can see that you can see the differential LSN in the backup header. Again, it won't really mean anything to you unless you've got a whole bunch of files that are named weird and you need to see if the LSNs match, right? You need to find the diff base for a specific diff backup, but that almost never happens. Most of the time they're named fairly well. Now, when you take this backup, so let's say I'm going to take another full backup on Saturday. I'm going to take a full, and
Okay.
it's going to reset the LSN. I'm going to say the diff LSN to 2, right? So
Okay.
now every one of these guys after this are looking at 2, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So all of these, so this diff LSN, and we'll get into the specifics when we talk about internals about how all this works and all that stuff some other time, probably, I don't know, a couple months down the line once you get used to all this stuff. But the full backup is the only backup that resets this differential LSN.
Hmm.
So if I take, anytime I take a new full backup, all of these diffs are now dead, right? I can't use them anymore
Hmm.
unless I use them with this backup, right? Once I take this one, I can't go back and change these guys. I can't go back and restore this full and then this diff, right? Because
Oh,
they've got
okay.
different LSNs. This one's looking for LSN1, this one's looking for LSN2.
Hmm.
But I
Okay.
can restore any of these. Now,
Yeah.
logs are completely different. Since logs rely on the last log backup, let's go
Hmm.
ahead and copy these guys down here. So let's say that I take my full and my log base. So it's a log base, and the LSN is 1.
Hmm.
So this log backup here, uh, I'll say start at. I wish I could type today. LSN 1. So I'm going to start this one at LSN 1. But now each log backup knows its beginning and ending LSNs, right? So it'll say
Hmm.
it starts
Yeah.
at 1, but it contains 1 1 through 3, right?
Hmm.
So here it contains all of these transactions,
Oh, yeah.
right? So it contains 1 through 3. And then this one, let me just do this so I can do all these. So this one will contain, like, it starts at 3,
Hmm.
right? Because this one ended at
Yeah.
3, so this one starts at 3. And this one contains something like 3 through 9, right? Which means
Yeah.
this one starts at 9,
Yeah.
and this one contains 9 through 11, which means this one starts at 11, and 11 through, oh, let's make this one nice, 11 through 30. Reduce
Hmm.
the chances that I mistype something. So that's why the logs have to be done in order, because each one of these knows its start and stop LSNs.
Hmm.
And so if this one goes 1 through 3, then it says, oh, okay, the last log backup was 1 through 3. That means I have to start at 3. So if you try to do them out of order and try to restore 1 and then this one, it's going to say, yo, 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 yo. You said
Hmm.
that you wanted to start it, that this last one ends at 3. So you have to start your next one at 3, and you started at 9. That's uncool, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get an error. It won't let you do that. And that actually does happen, right?
Hmm.
You've got a bunch of logs out there on a drive. Um, some jackass comes in, doesn't really realize what he's doing or makes a mistake and deletes one of those files. So the question becomes, I've got this file and I've got these
Hmm.
files, right?
Yeah.
So if I restore the full, which I have to do, right?
Hmm.
And then I restore this first log, how can I restore these logs if this one is missing?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
That's a question. How can I do that?
We cannot do that.
Exactly. Very good. Sometimes the answer is no, right?
Yeah.
So yes, you cannot do it. So every one of these is now dead, right? He may as well have
Mm.
deleted these two, these last
Yeah.
two as well. He may as well have deleted those, right? So
Mm-hmm.
assuming, and so we call that a broken LSN chain,
Okay.
right? Because this is a chain, 1 through 3,
Correct.
start at 3, 3 through 9, start at 9, 9 through 11, start at 11, right? So this is a chain, right? They all the numbers
Yeah.
match. But if this one's deleted, I go from 1 through 3 to 9. So that chain is broken,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So you can't restore through a broken LSN chain. And this does happen
Okay.
quite often, more often than it should, but not as often as you'd think. We try to protect against that.
Mm-hmm.
We since all these files are since these are all files out there on the hard drive, then we try our best to limit who has access to those folders so that somebody's just not going to go out there and just delete these guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So let me ask you something. How do you fix a broken LSN chain?
Mm. In that case, we have to take the backup, but
Which backup?
uh, okay.
Do
We
I have?
have to do, I think, bulk log backup. We have to do in that case.
Well, there's no really such thing as a bulk log backup.
No.
You've got you've got full, diff, and log
Mm-hmm.
up here. I
Yeah.
thought I wrote that down. Oh, I wrote down the recovery models. But you've got full, diff, and log. So which one do I need to take?
Uh, Not sure actually.
I need to reset the base, right?
Uh, yeah. Ah, okay. Okay. So we need to reset the base log. But
Right. We need
but
to
how
reset
can
the log. We
we?
need to reset the log base. So which if
Mm-hmm.
I have a broken chain here, right? I need to
Mm-hmm.
reset the chain, right? So what do I do to reset the chain?
Okay, for reset the chain. Okay, then we have to again start from the first step, like log base. We have to reassign the LSN
Right. So we need to take
first.
a full,
Yeah, full. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Excellent. So that's the only way to fix a broken log chain is you have to start over with a fresh full backup, reset that log base, and then you can move forward
Okay, then we have
with your
to
logs.
process the. We have to process like we have to perform the same process again if we have a broken LSN. That means we have to take full log base, then we have like start at LSN 1, LSN 3. We have to
Um,
perform same process again.
well, the LSNs will be different, but more or less, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll
Okay.
actually, in this case, um, what would happen is, let me do this. It'll reset it to 30
Okay.
because that's where it is, right? It's at LSN 30,
Yeah.
right? But it will, since it's a full backup and all of these things have been hardened, it will back up all of this data. It'll make sure all of this data is backed up so that now we can start
Mm.
with 30. And then the next one, when I take one Tuesday, will be
Mm.
30 through 35 and so on and so on and so on, right?
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so let's review.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to, I do a lot of review. So,
Okay. Yeah.
what are the three recovery models? And they're not on
Mm.
screen, so don't even think about it.
Yeah. It's full recovery, bulk log, and simple.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And what does simple do?
Simple is actually it's log the operation, but it's not maintained.
Right.
So it's like
Very nice.
bad
Very
idea.
nice.
Yeah.
And what is the base for a diff restore?
Uh, uh, to perform the uh, full backup. What can I
Right.
say? Like,
It's a full
yeah,
backup, right?
full backup. Yeah.
What's the base for a log restore?
Mm, uh, it's it also full log base.
Yes, it is also a full backup,
Full backup. Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Um let's see. What's a broken log chain or a broken LSN
Broken
chain?
log. Yeah.
The same thing. We
So
use those interchangeable.
yeah. Suppose we if one of the log file have been deleted, then we are not getting further logs. So that is the broken LSN chain.
Right. Right. So the LSNs, the beginning and end LSNs won't match, right?
Yeah.
And I can show you that if I
Mm-hmm.
can um remember what we backed because I deleted all this stuff from yesterday. So let's just back up another one. We'll back up AAA this time. So
Okay.
uh tell me what to type.
Yeah. So shall I tell you
Yeah,
the
yeah,
syntax
you
file?
know what? Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and share, or I'll give you
Yeah.
control, is what I meant to say. Give remote
Oh,
control.
okay.
You should have it. There we go. And
Yeah.
back up the AAA database to see my backups.
Okay. Backup database name triple A. I
AAA.
think it is getting slow. Second.
There you go.
Okay. Backup database name. Then to disk equals to paths with init format.
I kind of like Fromat. That's nice.
Sorry. Format. Okay.
You're going to send it to see my backups.
C slash. What will be the path? Triple A. Dot BAK. Okay. Shall I execute this statement?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Backup database. Okay. Yeah. Mm, oh my God. Cannot open backup device. Okay. Maybe.
There you go. And it's plural. It's plural. Backups.
Okay.
Backups. There you go. Try that.
Backups. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay, now if I do
Mm-hmm.
this, if I grab this guy here and I'll say store header only
Yeah. From disk. Yeah.
from disk, there we go. And I can see first LSN, last LSN.
Oh, okay.
So you see they're numbers that,
Mm.
won't really mean much to us.
Mm-hmm.
But as I take my log backups, and I was looking to see, um, yeah, okay. So as I take my log backups, you'll see this one. In fact, let's do this. I'm going to copy that
Mm-hmm.
backup log
Okay.
here in. Oh, it's in simple. Ha. Well, let's switch recovery models then, shall we? Actually, that's actually the long way.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Now I have to take my full backup.
Mm-hmm.
Now my log backup. There we go. So now, and in fact, no, I haven't. I don't have any transactions yet, so it won't really do any good. So now when I do this guy, I can see first LSN is 64, last LSN is 67.
Mm-hmm.
So now if I do AAA.trn, I can see my first and
60.
last LSNs. See, so it matches that diff base, doesn't it? Or that it matches
Okay.
that full first LSN, right? And
Yeah.
if we had transactions, I'll put together a better one later on where you can see the transactions moving through the LSNs
Mm-hmm.
through the chains. But um, yeah, this is a really good way to see all your header info. Um, okay, so what does init and format do for you? Why are they essential?
Uh, mm, like from the LSN, this row.
These guys.
Okay. So when uh with init actually it's overwrite the file and overwrite the data,
There you
and
go.
yeah, and for format is like it's overwrite the headers.
Right. Very nice. What happens if I don't use those guys? Can I take multiple
Mm.
backups? What happens if I just run this again and again and again and again and again?
Yeah, so it will append the data in the same file.
Right, right. And you can restore them like that too, right? I mean, you can say restore backup number 5, right? Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but again, later we'll talk about, you know, why that's dumb. But anyway, so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to set this back to simple.
One question from my side.
Go for it. That's what we're here for.
So, when we create a database, so that time we have to set the recovery model also.
Well, yeah, it depends on what the default recovery model is. right?
Okay.
So
So
you
is it
can
like default it is set the simple recovery model?
right. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's going to be based on model,
Okay.
and so here it's going to automatically be set to simple. If you want it to be
Okay.
set to
Okay.
full or bulk automatically, then you can set that to model in model, and it'll be created with that recovery recovery model.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
But yes, by default, everything is in simple, and uh, when you create a database, if you want it to be in full, then yep, you have to put it in full yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Okay.
it? Full yourself. um,
No.
okay, now let's talk about real quick. Um, let's talk about these file extensions .back and .trn.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. In fact, I've got a nice video on that I'll show you. But in general, these are standard uh, SQL backup file extensions, but
Okay.
it's not held by it, right? That's just it's become standard, and that's what we expect to see. But hell, you don't even need a file extension,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right? This just tells
Okay.
the DBA what it is. And if you want to do a diff, and by the way, this is the one I really hate. Um, so you can't say like backup diff or backup differential like you can backup database and backup log, right? You have to say
Mm-hmm.
with differential. So it has to be a with option. I know, I hate that. But we usually say .diff.
Okay.
But yeah, you really don't have to have an extension at all. But it sure is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate this.
Understood. Mm.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a few minutes till the next till the next lesson, or till the team meeting. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and end this session because it makes it easier for me if I don't have to edit the videos, if I can just put the videos up as they are instead of having to split them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Okay.
only way to do that is to uh, end the session so the recording will stop. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording anyway. And I shouldn't say
Oh.